Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Soccer Talk. I am digital producer Greg Rocool. Bo's a little bit indisposed today, so we have a very special guest. I'm joined by One Knoxville SC Director of Partnerships, Ami Rabiei.
Rabiei.
Excuse me. Ami Rabiei is joining us here in the studio today as we prep for the first ever local broadcast of a One Knoxville SC game here on local television. You'll be able to check that one out this Saturday at 7:30 right here on WATE TV. Ami, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. And just as you mentioned there, the game being broadcasted live this week. It's the first time a professional soccer game's been broadcasted live on WATE, and that's a huge milestone for the club. It's something that we've been wanting to do since our very beginning. We're still fairly new, we're still fairly young, so this is going to be a huge for our exposure, and we hope that we can captivate a lot more fans in the Knoxville area.
Absolutely. We are super excited about that one. A lot of prep going on this week. We couldn't be joined by Bo Williams today as they get prepped for that one. You're going to have Bo Williams in the booth on this one, doing a little bit of play-by-play.
I'll be with him.
And yeah, exactly. And Ami will be right up there in the booth alongside him. Going to be joined by a couple special guests periodically. And I know KCK, one of our sports reporters, will be on the sidelines providing a little bit of, in-game analysis. So very exciting, like you said, milestone for the club coming up. And it's going to be a really exciting game with a very impressive Forward Madison club that is coming to town. And this is a club on great form, 7 wins, 1 draw in their last 8 matches. This is a club that One Knoxville already had a very tightly contested affair. I think it was league play earlier this just last month, I believe. Forward Madison able to take that one 1-0. So I just want to pull up the history of this one so far. And so far in the history of this fixture really has been nothing to separate these clubs. 1 win apiece for each, and then 2 draws, one home and away. And if you look at the aggregate here, you're going to see that, literally nothing to separate them. Both team 2 goals conceded, 2 goals scored for each club in this one. So it just goes to show how competitive, just across the board, League One has been in the time that One Knoxville has joined since last season. What would you say about just the general level of competition? Really, it just seems like it's a league that has a lot of great parity, and really just seems like every team has got an opportunity to make something happen at one point or another in the season.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Any team can beat anyone in this division, and there's no team that's necessarily superior than one another. And as you can see there, our history against Forward Madison has been very equal. Tying 2 and with 1 win apiece. We have only played them once at home before. We failed to score, but so did they. So we take that into our advantage. As you can see, the top of the group in the Jägermeister Cup that we're competing in. And a win for us this weekend will put us, tied for those guys on 9 points at the top of the group. So, it's going to be a tight affair. It always has been against Forward Madison, but the team are well prepared. Back in those early games, especially, we were new. We were fairly unfamiliar with what we were facing with Forward Madison.
Right.
Now we're 3-4 games in against them. We're a lot more prepared. We have a better idea as to what to expect. We know their coach, players that we've come to watch over the past couple of years. So we feel a lot better prepared than we have done previously playing against Madison.
That's right. And as Ami mentioned, really a pretty tightly contested group and standings currently in the USL Jägermeister Cup. Knoxville's got an opportunity to go level on points with Madison in this 5th match day of this new in-season cup competition. If you haven't been following along, brand new in-season cup competition in League One. 3 different groups of 4 teams. One of the more interesting wrinkles of this new competition has been if it's tied after 90 minutes, it's going to go directly into a penalty shootout, and 1 wild card team, 1 non-group winner is going to go through on goals scored. So it really is a very unique take on, we see a lot of in-season cup competitions, in soccer, and now we're starting to see that in some American sports. The NBA just instituted theirs earlier this year, but it really has been an exciting addition, to the calendar.
Yeah, fans love competition. Fans love entertainment. That's what the sport industry is at the end of the day. So as we were discussing with the USL, earlier in the season, it's one way of how do we present a more competitive environment for fans to come and enjoy. And of course, the Jägermeister Cup was exactly that. It's a cup competition. At this point, it's group stages. Then it goes into a knockout phase, which gets even more tense. But with the addition to the penalty shootout, of course, everybody loves drama. Everybody loves entertainment. So that's the reason behind the inclusion of this tournament. And it's been great so far. We're enjoying it. But obviously, we want to put ourselves amongst the top of the group, and we want to be involved in those exciting games in the group stages, in the knockouts, I should say.
Absolutely. I imagine with the possibility of penalties now throughout the season, I imagine that makes the those penalties at the end of practice or what have you just gives it that little bit of intensity.
Absolutely. Our boys love taking part and competing against each other in those sort of competitions, and of course our goalkeepers are there practicing as well, because at the end of the day we have some of the best strikers in the league. So if the goalkeepers are preparing and saving penalties against those guys that they have at their disposal, they're much more prepared for if a penalty shootout ever comes.
Absolutely. And yeah, we talked about the parity in this league. Really anyone can beat anyone on the day. But let's just rewind to last weekend. Knoxville hosted a club that really historically has been a perennial contender across multiple seasons of League One in Greenville Triumph, currently sitting atop of the standings in league play. But this was a really competitive game that One Knoxville really, unfortunately, couldn't come out on top in. Let's go out to the first half of this match where, it really was a tightly contested first half. We've heard a lot from Coach McKeever about, how important it is to not only have that strong start from, that in that opening first 45 minutes, but, the big challenge has been putting it together for 90 minutes. Yeah. So I wanted to take it out to this chance late in the first half, where I think we saw what Knoxville can be at their best. You see some great one-on-one defending from Sean O'Hearn, who I think has really taken a nice step up this season, and just slips it into Angelo Kelly, who is able to get this attack started going right the other way almost immediately. You see Kingsford Ajay with some great hold-up play there, and then a really impressive ball in from James Thomas into the feet of Kempis Tequila. And almost another spectacular goal from Kempis Tequila there. It seems like he has really got a really unique flair for some of the more challenging, skills as an attacking player. It's, what is it like seeing him in training every day? And, he really has, I think, hit the ground running in his first season in American soccer with, I think, 4 goals already. What's it been like to, train with him and see him get out there and succeed?
Yeah, Kempis Tequila is a goal scorer. It's as simple as that. And, that's something that we were missing. And we acknowledged that from last season. We needed more goals. So in the recruitment process, that was the primary objective, to bring in a striker. So we brought in Kempis, who we've seen every single day of the week. Anytime he's in and around the box, he's shooting on goal. There's no doubt about that. And 9 times out of 10, they're on target. So he's had a great start to the season. He's been scoring consistently, which is very important to us. And as you saw there, that chance, he's capable of creating chances out of very obscure opportunities. And just that highlight just exemplifies, how great we are at building up from the back. Sean O'Hearn, who's started a great attack there, and it's worked all the way through the midfield and ended up with a chance at Tequila. So we hope to be doing that a lot more often. Sean O'Hearn showing the composure at the back and taking that all the way through. The quality James Thomas has at our disposal from those wide areas. We found success so far with crosses coming into the box, Kempis Tequila being on the end of goals, as we saw at Richmond, for example. So that is something that we try to do and practice on a daily basis. And Kempis Tequila is definitely one that we hope we can keep getting goals out of.
Absolutely. And yes, you mentioned that goal against Richmond, a goal of the week winner, a really spectacular volley from Kempis. So yes, really a really exciting addition to this club. And as you saw in this, he can take a very difficult chance or half chance even and turn that into potential goal scoring opportunity. You talked a little bit about the recruitment process, which I'm always curious about. Kempis Tequila was a player who was applying his trade in Luxembourg last season. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not following the Luxembourg domestic soccer league very closely. So just tell me a little bit about how you guys, identify talent and, work to bring them to this club.
Yeah, there's many different ways. There's no particular right or wrong way to acquire a player. The coaching staff acknowledge, what's needed. They define what kind of player they want, what areas of the field that they need to recruit in, and they'll be talking to agents that they've worked with in the past. They'll be using a platform called Y-Scout that gives you a full in-depth analysis of players around the world. Mm-hmm. So they're not just looking, of course, at Luxembourg. They're looking at Rwanda, for example, with Nshuti Innocent being signed. So it's a very broad scope, and honestly, it's an endless process because you can obviously find every single player that you want, but yeah, it's an endless process. The coaching staff, especially in the off-season, will be traveling around watching more local games in the NCAA championships. They'll be watching teams, that's happening right now in the USL League 2, for example.
Right.
So there's a lot of eyes going on, watching games consistently, but especially as we get into the off-season, there's a lot of conversations with agents. For example, Coach Mark and the assistants, Nick Jaramillo and Ilya Ilic, will be defining what it is they want. Ask those agents, look, we're looking for a player who has these attributes with this profile. Do you have anybody that's worth a look? And of course, we get players that way.
Interesting. I think I asked this maybe of Drew McKenna when he was in here, but it'd be interested to hear your take on it. There's been a couple of recruitment windows now, both, in League Two and now at the professional level. Is there kind of almost like a mold for a One Knox player, or maybe some characteristics that a player might exemplify that says, okay, like this is someone that can really fit into what we're trying to do here at this club?
Absolutely. There's definitely a certain personality that we look to acquire, and that's first and foremost them being a good person.
Right.
It's great having all the talent, but when you match that with someone who really appreciates the opportunity that's ahead of them and is willing to put in the work to get to where they need to get to, that's what we look for. We take pride in having our players put the team before themselves. So if we're discussing with a player, if we're speaking to former coaches, perhaps former players, we have players on our team who give us advice about players who they've played with in the past, for example. So we do really try to look into, who they are, because it's very easy to see watching games, looking at footage, looking at data, numbers, how good and how talented a player may be. But to get it right, we really do need to dive into the personalities of these players and how they're going to, impact the culture. That's just as important as the performances on the field.
Absolutely. Let's keep it going into the second half of Saturday's match, where we will see, after an early corner kick from Knoxville, Greenville, as we said, almost very similar to almost the chance we saw earlier. These in League One, you can see teams transition from defense to attack so quickly, and unfortunately, a nice ball in from the left flank on this final third here, and Leo Castro is able to put this Greenville team ahead. But it just goes to show that, you really have to be switched on at all times, especially, in the dog days of summer here in League One, especially so many teams in the Southeast. It can be easy to lose focus, and, you can be punished quickly, potentially, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Leo Castro is a player we know very well. He scored a great goal here in the Open Cup a couple of weeks ago, and what a match that was. Absolutely. So when you let a striker of that quality and of that experience, get across the front man of our defender there, it's always going to make life difficult, especially in and around the 6-yard box of a striker of that quality. But as you said, transition moments happen very quick in the sport, not even at just this level. So our players need to be switched on and recognize that as soon as we're attacking, the transition to defender needs to be really, really quick. And unfortunately there, they caught us out with a great delivery. Castro, of course, running across the defender and putting the ball on target there. So the boys are fully aware of their mistakes. These guys are professionals. They've been doing this for a long, long time. So they're fully aware. They acknowledge the mistakes that they made, and we can be sure that they're there to put it right.
That's right. All right, let's keep it going to a big moment here late in the second half. Ball in behind leaves Sean Lewis one-on-one with an attacker, and he does well to really win the ball with his feet at first, but unfortunately it goes off his hands, and that's going to outside of the box, and he's going to be sent off. So One Knoxville had to bring in Johan Garb, the I think I'm saying that right, the backup keeper, who I think in limited minutes, a silver lining, they're going to be without Sean Lewis for this upcoming game. But I think in the limited minutes that Johan Garb has played in this season, I think he's acquitted himself really well.
Absolutely, and to be quite honest with you, in my opinion, I don't like to label this as a backup goalkeeper or second choice goalkeeper, but when you're not getting those consistent minutes as the starting goalkeeper is getting, it's so important to, keep your mind positive, keep your patience. And Johan personally, as I just mentioned in the recruitment process there, we look for good human beings, and Johan is exactly that. He supports the team the way he needs to support. The culture of the team, he contributes to positively. So he is so deserving opportunities on the field. And of course, when we have such a talent in Sean Lewis, it's very difficult to break into the starting 11. So he will get his opportunity this week. He's fully deserving of it. He's very much capable. So I'm excited for him to keep another clean sheet, which he has been doing so far when he's called upon in the games.
Absolutely. We saw, Rabiei come into this game and make a couple saves when they did go down to 10 men. We're going to see the last goal here at the end of stoppage time. Not long before this, Sean O'Hearn, got his second yellow card. So Knoxville down to playing with 9 players in total, and we see just a kind of broken play that ends up falling kindly to the feet of one of the Greenville Triumph attackers, and it really was just a little bit of the, I don't know, seemed to be kind of, when it's not your day, it's not your day. Knoxville played, I think the score line is almost flattering for a team that was up, one man, and then 2 men at the end of the game. It just shows that last year, I remember with under Mark McKeever, it was really the defensive solidity that was able to kind of propel this team to be competitive throughout, really up until the last 2 weeks of the regular season before they were eliminated from playoff contention. So I think you kind of see that kind of core defensive solidity, kind of come out once again when you are playing with a man down and you do have to, kind of pack it in a little bit. You saw that in the second half of this game, and that's something, even without Captain Jordan Skelton anchoring the back line there, this is a defensive unit that can really, pack it in and be really difficult to break down, which is only going to be a benefit whether you are playing with a man down or at full strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you saw that goal came in the 93rd minute. So, it's very late in the game. Bodies are tired already. So the fact that we're down to 9 men in that instance, what that means for the game is our players are then having to cover more ground. When they're doing more running, of course, the more tired you're going to get. So not only are they exerting themselves on the field, but with it being so late in the game, the minds get tired, the bodies get tired, and of course that's no excuse to be conceding goals. But at the end of the day, it was a really tough scenario that our boys were left with, and unfortunately we had to concede the second goal.
That's right. Well, an opportunity to come into this weekend and bounce back against this Forward Madison team. Just want to pull up the league standings here. We already got to take a look at the Jägermeister Cup standings through 4 match days, but you're starting to see this top half of the table really kind of separate themselves. But obviously Greenville has played the most out of this, along with Tormenta, at the top of this table. But given the composition of this League One season, a lot can change. And, with the new format, you're going to have 8 teams qualify to the playoffs at the end of the year. So it's still a lot to play for here. And as we kind of enter this late summer phase, this is going to be a huge stretch for One Knoxville as they, really have a nice homestand here before going on the road a little bit towards the end of the season. So they've got an opportunity to really separate them, to solidify playoff position going into this, July, early August portion of the schedule.
Yep. So as you can see there, 9 games played, and as you mentioned, with the addition to the Jägermeister Cup, that means there's less league games. So 22 league games is what's going to be played, and of course we're at 9, so we've got 13 games left of the regular season before those playoffs begin. And as you can see, we're very comfortable there in 5th place, not exactly where we want to be. We'll be completely honest and first to admit that. We had a very good start to the season, but as you can see, a couple of losses there in recent games. But as you mentioned, big opportunity to put that right, get back into winning habits. Our bodies are starting to recover. We've had a lot of injuries, which I'm sure you've noticed, that have arisen within the team within the past couple of weeks. So now we're starting to get those bodies back to where they need to be. Players are now becoming fit to be playing and involved in the squad. So we're hoping we can get back to the form that we were showing at the start of the season and really start to solidify our place in the top half of the table.
Absolutely. I just wanted to take a look at some of the statistics from American Soccer Analysis, doing some really exciting work of analysis for really all the American leagues here. And this is a table of their goals added metric, which kind of quantifies all the touches that a team, whether it's in attack or defense, how much does that contribute to this team potentially scoring, or how much does this contribute to a team potentially conceding a goal? So every touch on the soccer pitch is quantified in this goals added metric. And even with a couple of, not ideal results here in the last couple of matches, this is a Knoxville team that started really strongly in league play. And you see, if you just rank all the teams by this goals added metric, by the differential, One Knoxville is right here at the top here at number 3 with just 935 minutes played. And you see that this is a One Knoxville club that has almost been a little bit unlucky in terms of, if you look at the goals added for metric here, they have been right up here at the top of the metric across the league with 14 goals added. So they've almost underperformed their kind of expected goal value to a certain extent. I think that this just kind of shows the ability of that retooled attack. We talked so much about that defensive solidity of the group last year. We got a couple of new options in attack ahead of this season, and it really has started to pay out to bear out some success in the team, even if it hasn't had the results that this team has wanted in the past couple of times. But it really has just goes to show how much this team has been able to grow on that, just offer a couple new dimensions in the attack. How big of a focus point has that been kind of in the preseason and when you're training day to day? You have this, core group that's able to kind of convey what the game plan or the ethos of the club is. But, with these new added dimensions in attack, I imagine it gives you a little bit more flexibility from a tactical perspective.
Absolutely. We like to play exciting football. That's the way Coach McKeever has always played. The players love to do that. We love to keep the ball, of course, but we also like to go on attack. So it's not just the strikers that we emphasize that we recruited. Kingsford Adjei has come into the team,
right.
Rich Ballard, and even deeper in midfield, Charlie Machel, for example, who was at Lexington last season. The attack doesn't really rely upon the strikers. So we really did recruit heavily. Sievert Haugley is another one worth mentioning, who is even further back, is that number 6 centre-back anchor, if you like. So what we see when Sievert's on the field, for example, is we win the ball higher up the field, which means there's less ground to cover between us winning the ball back and the goal itself. So it really is a team effort when we go into attack. It's not just on the strikers. Of course, we have Kingsford and Rich. There's almost like the wingers who are supporting that transition into attack, and of course the midfielders and Charlie, Sievert, etc., who are almost that base, if you like, to start and trigger the attack. So it's a team effort, and as you can see there, we're obviously higher than what we were last year. So we're going to look to continue to try and improve on that and try and capitalize on the opportunities that we have in front of us.
Absolutely. And like we said, don't miss it this Saturday at Regal Soccer Stadium. They're going to be taking on Forward Madison, the first ever local broadcast on, Knoxville television, if you're not able to make it out. But if you are able to make it out, it sounds like you're going to have a pretty spectacular after show for this game with some fireworks there at Regal Soccer Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a landmark for the club. To have a live broadcast at WAT, our partners, is really meaningful for us, and we're really appreciative of that. And of course, we want to involve our fans in that. This is their club just as much as ours. So this isn't just a big deal for us as a club and those working in day in, day out, but it's also a huge landmark for those who have supported us since the very beginning. So Americanite is the theme of the game. We're going to take this opportunity to celebrate our first responders, military veterans, etc. And of course, we're going to have a fireworks post-game to kind of kick off the 4th of July celebrations, and hope that entices people to come out, enjoy the game, and show the rest of Knoxville what we're made of.
Absolutely. It's going to be an exciting one. We're encouraging everyone to get out. If you can't make it, like I said, tune in to Channel 6 at 7:30 for, complete coverage, from whistle to whistle. This is going to be a great one. Before we go, I guess, Bo and I have been talking a little bit. It's about, it's the summer of soccer. A lot of huge international tournaments going on right now between the Euro and Copa America getting underway. And we gave out our predictions for the Euro recently, and I just wanted to come in and get your take, Ami. What do you think what's really stood out to you in this group stage? There's been some surprising results from, in the group standings.
Yeah, I think this has been a massively entertaining tournament. From the games that I'm watching, I'm sat there in disbelief of how many late goals and drama there is in the added time part of the game. And, being from England, of course, we're going to root for those guys. And, I think, in my opinion, it's been a little unfair as to how much criticism we've received. Gareth Southgate, in my opinion, has done such a great job since he's came in to be the England coach. He's got us to major finals, semi-finals. He's got us competing at an incredibly high level with an incredibly talented group of players, which, we've had in the past. If you go back to the eras of Wayne Rooney, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, etc., we've had such talent in the past that we weren't able to get to the latter stages of these tournaments. Gareth's been able to do that. So, and of course, that brings expectation. So now this criticism is coming because we expect so much of those players. You know, Jude Bellingham, for example, Trent Alexander-Arnold, all these players are capable of winning Champions Leagues and winning Premier Leagues. So,
Right.
of course, we're going to expect them to win, and anything less than that is going to be frustrating. But that's not to say that they're not trying. You know, they've done an incredible job so far in recent tournaments. It's not been the performances, and we've not seen, you know, the full potential of the squad so far. But I have a lot of confidence in Gareth and the boys that they'll be able to get through this bracket. And get themselves to a final. You know, just looking at this now, you see, you know, the likes of Spain, Germany, Portugal, France, Belgium are all on the other side of the bracket, which is very fortunate to us. So Belgium, of course, is up there against France, but on the other side, you know, you got the Netherlands, you got Italy, who we may see at some point, and of course, Italy beat us in the last Euros final. So we'll be looking to get them back for sure.
It's interesting you talk about the expectation, and I think this is a thing that kind of is happening with the U.S. men's national team to a certain extent. You know, when you have a really special group of players, there's an expectation of, you know, there's some really aggressive and free-flowing, you know, attacking play. But we've seen, you know, at the international level, you know, that isn't necessarily what has to happen for you to have success. I mean, just look at, you know, the French team that's come in as, you know, tournament favorites, you know, coming off of winning the World Cup back in 2018. They got to the final of Euro 2016. And this is a France team that, you know, is also bursting with some really high-end talent. But it's an incredibly pragmatic approach, you know, very risk-averse, really slowing down the game to limit some transition opportunities. But it just goes to show that sometimes there's a disconnect between the expectation of the fans wanting, you know, some really aggressive attacking play. We see that, like I said, with the U.S., with this really exciting generation of young players they have right now. But you can go very far in a tournament playing some very conservative, you know, risk-averse kind of tactics.
You know, it's very easy to underestimate some of these teams. You know, we've seen France have the same record as England with 1 win, 2 ties, and, you know, we saw Portugal lose there against Georgia this past week. So, you know, we can't underestimate anybody. But, you know, England are fully in control of their destiny. They have been since the start of the tournament. So, yeah, we can't underestimate any of the other teams in our side of the bracket, of course, starting with Slovakia this coming Sunday. So we can't get too ahead of ourselves. We can't be expecting championship wins if we can't get past the next game. So one game at a time is what I would recommend Gareth focus on, which I'm sure he is.
Right.
And I beg him to bring it home.
Is there any, you know, was there a certain result maybe that really stood out to you in that group stage, or, you know, maybe one of these knockout round fixtures that really, you know, piques your fancy?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, you know, if it wasn't for England winning, I had my highs, my high expectations set on Portugal. You know, I think they've got such a well-rounded team. It's got that mix of experience, obviously with Cristiano Ronaldo, but also that youth, and there's a lot of talent in that team. So seeing them struggle and lose 2-0 to Georgia was an unexpected one for me. So, but yeah, there's been a number of games. You know, even the Scotland-Hungary game was a really entertaining game.
Absolutely.
With Scotland pushing for a late goal there and then being hit on the counter-attack, and Hungary actually being the one to score the late goal. There's been a lot of drama, which I've enjoyed watching. So I hope England can stay well away from all that drama. But if there is any drama in England, I hope it's in their favour.
Absolutely. One that really stood out to me was that Italy-Croatia game, really dramatic late goal for Italy to send them through to this knockout round. And yeah, it really has been a tournament of some unexpected results, really tightly contested play, really in all the groups. I gave out Ukraine as one of the dark horses on one of our earlier shows. Made some very unfortunate history as the first team at the Euro to not go through after getting 4 points at the group stage. So that just kind of shows just how competitive and how, you know, how narrow the margin for error is for, you know, to finish as in the top 2 or even as one of those 4 third place finishers.
Yeah, and that's really strange, and I'm sure FIFA and UEFA will be taking a good look at that, because if you look at Denmark, for example, if you look at Slovenia, you know, they are in the next round of the tournament after running 3 points. So when you look at Ukraine having to go home after running 4 points, it does put it into picture as to whether the format is the correct one and whether we'll see any alterations for the next tournament in 4 years.
That will be interesting to follow, yes. The addition of the 4 third place finishers has been pretty interesting since they did that in 2016, I believe. You'll remember in that Euro 2016, Portugal won the tournament after finishing as a third place team in the group, not winning a game in the group stage, and was still able to go through and compete in the knockout stage and go on to win it. So it'll be interesting to see, yes, if those any format changes arise for the coming editions of the tournament. Let's put the bracket up here one last time. The knockout stage gets going this Saturday with Germany, Denmark, and Switzerland, Italy. And what do you think, Ami? Excuse me. Now that you've seen the knockout bracket, what are you looking at for a potential final here?
Yeah, well, I'm never going to go against my boys, so I've got England going from the right side of that bracket. To be honest, Belgium are capable of beating France, and France haven't been convincing so far. So, Spain, Germany, I think, if Spain beat Georgia there and Germany beat Denmark, I think the winner of that quarterfinal will likely be the one to advance into the finals. So.
Absolutely. It feels like, yes, that that potential quarterfinal matchup of Spain and Germany has got, major implications for the late stages of the tournament. And yeah, really the standout fixture of this round of 16, that Belgium-France game, both teams have been, have left a little bit to be desired given the amount of talent that they have. And yeah, another huge opportunity for England on that side of the bracket. Setting up a potentially, a Euro 2020 rematch in that quarterfinal with a potential England and Italy matchup. On the other side, one team that's been really surprising is Austria, Ralf Rangnick-led team that has been able to, do a kind of very aggressive high pressing that you don't often see in the international game, just with the amount of limited training that you get. So really, some intriguing storylines across the bracket here, and I really am excited to really. Thankfully the game for One Knoxville is at 7:30, so we'll have plenty of time to watch both games this Saturday. And I can't wait to watch the summer of soccer. Like we said, don't forget about One Knoxville this Saturday, hosting Forward Madison SC. Catch it on WATE.com, and I'm sure we'll be talking about all this and more in a couple of future editions of Soccer Talk here in the WATE Digital Studio. I want to thank Ami, Director of Partnerships from One Knox, for joining us today, and we will see you guys again soon.